Just like you, I have been eagerly awaiting the release of the Atari Gamestation Go, first announced all the way back in January 2024 as the Portable, then renamed to the Go in January 2025, and now we know we're only about a month away from getting our hands on the final What's that? Oh, I think that's the mailman. Hold on, be right back. Yeah, I was right. It was the mailman. He just had a stack of bills and flyers and promo stuff. Oh, and this box that appears to be the brand new Atari Gamestation Go commercial released package. And this is the first time seeing this in the box, sealed. And I hate getting things like this ahead of time and not being able to share them in some fashion. So this is not a review of this product, not yet. I'm working a review of the Atari Gamestation Go that I will release September 27th. Stick around for that. In the meantime, I checked with my friends over at My Arcade and said, I want to be able to share this somehow. So what I'm going to be able to show you here is a look around the box, plus most importantly, we're going to flip open this lid, take a look at that entire game list and the artwork inside. That's some information that people have been dying for. We get back from the table, I have a little more info for you, so stick around for that. But for now, let's go check this out. Here he is. So this is our first look at the commercial packaging for the Atari Gamestation Go. This is not just a box. My Gamestation Go is in there. Now I've promised My Arcade I'm not going to open this, but I can show you anything in and around the box, as I said, including that game list in there. That was not the peak. We're going to open it up and take a long look. No need to pause there. So some things to point out. Some of these images you'll have seen before, but I want to point out what is available so that put it in context. So, of course, they're calling out all their big Atari licenses here. Asteroids, Berserk, Breakout, Centipede, Missile Command, Warlords, Yars, Tempest. I love that Yars, one of the only 2600 first and only titles, here gets front billing, as it should. Yars Revenge. And Balls of Steel Pinball is on here. And I should point out that some of these are on here not just because they're here as their original arcade or 2600 games, but as you probably know by now, recharged titles as well for many of these are packed into the Atari Gamestation Go. And just like with the previous model, the Atari Gamestation Pro, this 200 games spans a number of titles. It's not just Atari. It is predominantly Atari, and you'll see the game list in just a second, but it has Atari, it has Pac-Man titles. Now, this was weird to me back when it first came out, but I mean, here's the Pac-Man over here on the box, but now that we know the collaboration between Atari and Pac-Man, this all makes sense finally, right? Jaleco and Pico games. That's not uncommon for My Arcade to add to the library of titles on a system like this from their Jaleco and Pico libraries that they also have a license to. But we'll see as we open up the case, the lid here, that predominantly it is Atari stuff, but there is some other stuff on there. But remember, there are also expandability options available in the future, so keep that in mind. We'll get to that at a later date. But for now, why don't we flip this thing over? Ugh. All right, so some beauty shots. Again, probably some images you've seen. The little kickstand here. They're really highlighting the recharged games. You can see here's Asteroids recharged up here. Here's some Missile Command recharged. Focuses and highlights here on the fact that this connects to the TV via HDMI. So in a lot of ways, this is a next generation portable Gamestation Pro because it could be plugged in, put a little kickstand, lay on the table, plug it into your TV, and it's a handheld. Or, now I wouldn't go so far as to call it another Switch, but it does switch between handheld and console mode plugged into a television like a plug and play. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Once you've seen this kind of beauty shots here, probably focusing on the specifications down here is worthwhile. Stuff we know, 200 plus built-in games, 7-inch high resolution display. You've seen that display in some previous videos, really good viewing angles, nice rich colors and vibrant. Rechargeable battery, 4 to 5 hours. Now I have an estimate. We never had an estimate before, so there's their ballpark, 4 to 5 hours on a charge. Built-in Wi-Fi, so that is included for updates. You might remember the Gamestation Pro was pretty challenging to update. You need to have a Windows PC. Not anymore. All you need is a Wi-Fi connection. You get updates. Integrated paddle, trackball, and keypad. Now, paddle jumps out at me. Need to clarify. This wasn't changed, but there was a change to the hardware. It's not a paddle. It is a spinner. It doesn't have stops on it. It is a free spinning spinner. Can I use that to play Tempest? Yes, you can. I can confirm it is a free spinning spinner, not just a paddle. It's just, paddle is a type of spinner, but spinner is not a type of paddle. You know what I mean. Anyway, that's correct. Smart Glow, we've covered this a little bit. Maybe we talked about it at CES. rather than just throw some ROMs on a system, the GameStation Go, and in fact this whole line, including the Mega coming up later, has games installed, but also the controls on the system illuminate so you know what buttons you need. So if I only need the D-pad and the A button, those illuminate to show a player that maybe isn't familiar with the system exactly which buttons on this controller have mapped controls to them. So you're not mashing buttons all around, you know exactly what buttons you need. That's smart glow technology I've seen on stand-up arcade cabinets and MAME cabinets, but they've included it right here in this handheld, which is a really nice addition, especially for people that may not be intimately familiar with every single game. They have an immediate and visual shorthand right on the face of the device so they know what controls are necessary to control any given game they fire up. Game save options, as before, connects to TV via HDMI. We knew that, of course. Okay, let's flip it back over here and take a look inside of this flap. And in a second, I'm going to talk to you about how you can have your voice heard and contribute to the review of this GameStation Go here on GenXGrownUp, so stick around for that. But let's get into this thing and see just what they have in store. A little magnetic latch there. You see that? All right. Let me start here on the inside flap, where really the differentiating features between like maybe 2023's GameStation Pro and the new GameStation Go stands out beyond just being a retro handheld, because there are more modern titles present than maybe you would expect to see on a device like this. So top of the line, look, we knew we had recharged titles from Atari. That includes Asteroids, Berserk, Breakout, Centipede, and Missile Command. Now at the time of CES, Centipede was the only one confirmed, and they said more to come. Well, here's more, and they've even said there's an opportunity to add more games, recharged and otherwise, via firmware updates in the future. And now that those are Wi-Fi accessed, the barrier of entry for those, should they expand on this, you're going to get that benefit without having to jump through any hoops. Right below that, Balls of Steel Pinball. Now, this is not a brand new title, nor are these recharged titles. But then you have, what is it, seven different pinball machines. Barbarian, Centipede, Darkside, Devil's Island, Firestorm, Missile Command. I've played that one a lot. It's my favorite. And Mutation. And again down here, Pac-Man. Now, you'll note that they have the original arcade version of Pac-Man, and I've seen it. It's actually the arcade ROM. Finally, the arcade ROM, including Classic and the sped-up version, and the notorious 1982 Atari version, the Todd Fry Pac-Man, also included on here, because as we now know, Atari has worked with Namco to get access to these games and be able to re-release Pac-Man, so it's included here on the GameStation Go. All right, let's slide down to the other part of this box lid. Now, I'm going to sit on this shot for a while so you have time to browse it, keep my hand out of the way as much as I can, but I'm going to kind of point around. Yes, it's highlighting the 2600 games, 2 full columns, almost 3, 2 third columns of 2600 games. We have a little more than half dozen 5200 titles, 7800 games, looks like about a 10 or a dozen of those. Then we get into M Network. That's actually more 2600 titles, M Network titles here, so a number of those. Then we get into the Atari arcade versions, so you can see a list of all of those here, all the way down here. Here's those 5 recharge titles, the Balls of Steel. Then we have the Pac-Man entries. So everything up to here, here's your Atari, it cuts off there. So you can see the volume of Atari. The remaining things over here, actually, I guess Balls of Steel is Atari too. Everything over here are others, including Jalico 816 and arcade versions, as well as Pico 816 and 16-bit arcade versions as well. Now, I know what you're thinking, and I've been thinking it too. Where's my Intellivision? Where's my Lynx? Where's my Jaguar? Where's my insert name of product platform here? This is what is provided at shipping on the Atari GameStation Go. No, it's not Lynx. No, it's not Jaguar. No, it's not Intellivision. All things that I personally was hoping would be included on this system. So as much as I can talk about that right now, let me say that, remember, there is an SD card slot on the Atari GameStation Go, and My Arcade has already stated that the GameStation Go will be, and I'm quoting here, at least as expandable as the GameStation Pro. So whatever you could do on the GameStation Pro, you'll likely be able to do here and more. Now, that doesn't promise that any of those platforms I mentioned are going to be available, but I'll tell you, I have tested many of those, and several of them actually worked as you might hope. I'm not going to say any more. Just know that, look, if you're a tinkerer, there's expandability here in the GameStation Go beyond this game list. If you're not, This is a huge library of games, including some more modern stuff that I think individually probably cost, 10 or 15 bucks a piece still as recharge games. So, there's $50, $60 worth of value right there. A lot of games. Some of the stuff we're hoping for is not hitting, but still, I really believe it's important going into a brand new product like this, you're fully aware of what is and is not included and what possibilities will be available once you get this thing in your hands. So, the Atari Gamestation Go. I think there's going to be a lot more to see and do and explore with this product, depending on how much you're willing to play with it. But that's for another video. For now, that's my quick look at it. For now, my box is just like it will be when it hits your doorstep. Still sealed, haven't cut it open yet. I've had the opportunity to go hands-on with the Atari Gamestation Go in the past few months and years since it was first announced. I've had a chance to look at it early and give some insight, some advice, and provide some input based on what I've seen viewers ask about it, but I've not yet had a chance to take a holistic review of the product. This is where you come in. So, in the comments, I want you to let me know if there are any specific questions or curiosities or inquiries you have about this unit, this Atari Gamestation Go. I'll keep an eye on all those comments and ensure that I answer as many of them as I possibly can in my review. I want to make sure that the review that I provide to you gives you the most information necessary and helps you to make an informed buying decision. That's the purpose of reviews here on GenXGrownUp. This is only the beginning of Gamestation Go coverage. Once we get the review out, we'll be talking about upgrades, we'll be talking about mods and things we can do to it. There's a lot to cover. For now, I'll throw a couple of links over my shoulders here and here covering the Go and future videos as they're available. I certainly hope you found something to enjoy in this quick video. Can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.